Hi everyone, I'm Linden Thorp. I'm an embodiment mentor and I run a series of events called Your Body is Your Business Plan, the Masterclass. And Your Body is Your Business Plan is the name of a book I wrote last year, which is all about that, how really our bodies are the best possible kind of business plan. So today I've got some lovely guests here. They're assembling backstage and I'll introduce you soon. But as usual, I'd like to introduce you to the topic. And today's event 5, and we're talking about inner trust equals outer wealth. That may sound a little strange, but I think the video will explain and the slides I've made, and then we're going to talk about it. And really then we're focusing on trust. But you'll see from the video that it's not the kind of trust that you think about. It's a state of being. And the more we realize that, the better. So let me share my screen and let me just show you this quick slideshow. 2 minutes to 2 minutes and a half, something like that. Here we go. Okay, thank you for your attention, and I hope that made some kind of sense to you. We're going to talk about those points now. But the main thing to say is that trust is not here, it's here. And it's not something you can earn or grow or develop. It's actually a state of being, and we all have it. We all have it when we're balanced. So the body, mind, spirit, when it's balanced, we're trusting. We're very trusting. Anyway, let's continue the talk with my lovely guests. Got 3 lovely guests today. Let me bring them all onto the stage, and then I'll introduce them. Here they are. Oh, wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Great to see you. Great to see you. So let me just introduce Sheila. I think many of you know Ebby Sheila. She's often hanging around with me. She's a women's empowerment, guiding women to embrace their authentic selves. She's British. She was born in Barnet, in Hertfordshire. And after a very rocky ride, she's now a self-love and mental fitness coach. And Mike Stevenson, I'm so glad to see you, Mike. It's been ages, so glad you could come. But you are living proof that storytelling, resilience, and reinvention can change lives. I think you'll agree. Mike's is an amazing journey, and hopefully he'll talk about it in a moment. And then finally, we've got Heather, my dear friend Heather Barry, and she's a strengths-led goal achievement for coaches, leaders, and organizations. And she created Master, which is this amazing system, which I'm part of, which I love. And this is all about goal setting in a really extraordinary way. So we've got 3 wonderful guests. So first of all, let me ask you to all switch your mics on.
Yep.
You can comment freely. I've done my bit. I've given you my point of view of trust. Any comments about the video, the voiceless video? And Mike, I hope you saw it. I'm not sure when you arrived, but I
did.
You did? Oh, great. So, any comments? Ebby Sheila, what did you think about the video? What did you get from it?
There was so much there, but like everybody else, like most people, not everybody, I guess. In terms of trust, you always think about it to do with somebody else. But that in the video, and what I've learned over the last few weeks, is that trust is actually within the nervous system. And like you said, I mean, like the body and the face, the showing of the face when there's a lack of trust, when you're sitting in meetings too. Why is it that we react in certain ways? It's probably like the body is not comfortable with the situation. So even though the mind might be willing, but the body's throwing a fit. So basically in a nutshell, I'll let the others speak, but in a nutshell, it's another thing that really resonated with me, because I do that. So like things like over-explaining. I find myself over-explaining all the second guessing myself, avoiding conflicts. Those are really big ones. And I like where it said in the video, people versus architecture. So people are not the problem, it's the architecture that's the problem. So for me, this is a great realization of self and what's actually happening within the body. So I am really looking forward to the conversation. I have experienced a bit of Enza with you, and I really love it. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
Yes, Ebby Sheila and I run a session on Friday, which is called Embodiment Q&A, and we started Enza last week. So it really works beautifully because it makes sure everybody's heard and everybody's seen. So she's living proof. She survived the first the first round. Heather, what did you think of it? What did you get from it?
Yeah, no, a lot of sort of mirroring and reflecting what Ebba Sheila has said. Yeah, there's a lot in there, and I think it's that sort of shift. I think we kind of brought up with that sort of notion that, you know, trust is earned, and this is just a completely different way of looking at that and the things that you're bringing in, and Linden, you'll know that this mirrors the work that I do in terms of, you know, it's like that everybody can feel heard, that everybody has their place, and it's like, how can we, if the trust is coming from internally, if it's coming from the person around the table, and almost not that projection of the person who is also in the meeting. And I think that's really important, that it's to give that almost that skill and that understanding of trust to each of the individuals in anything. I think, yes, avoiding conflict is my kind of oh yeah, yeah,
I can see
yeah.
Well,
so,
yeah, nobody
and
likes conflict, I don't think,
no,
really.
but I think we can sort of be quite, you know, I think it's, for me, I kind of always saw that as more of a sort of an ADHD rejection sensitivity type of thing, whereas actually frame it in through this, it's kind of like, oh, is there a different way of approaching it, you know, working with it so that it doesn't feel like rejection. It actually feels like I'm pushing out I'm understanding the trust and I'm pushing that out. So yeah, I'm very interested to see how this can develop, because this is a very new way of looking, like I'm sure a lot of the people listening, it's so new. It's like,
yes, that's why I invited you, because I knew you'd love this. And in a moment, we'll get you to tell us a bit about Master, which is great. And I'm very involved in it with Heather. But before we do that, Mike, what was your reaction? And are you moving? Your camera might
well,
be...
I'm not. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Well, I'm never that still. I'm never that statuesque.
No, I'm sure you're not.
So I'll have to let my voice rather than my animation tell the story. Listen, I can understand this. I remember years ago, a friend had a little baby, and it was now 13 months old, and some people gathered around, and this baby would walk from one knee to another and ask to be picked up. And she avoided this man, who I didn't know, and everyone seemed to like him. There was nothing that the adults saw as anything other than, he's a nice chap. And this baby, the mother tried to hand the baby to this man, and the baby stiffened and stretched, would not allow any contact. And of course, the mother and the father were really embarrassed. We were all embarrassed. And anyway, to cut a long story short, about a month later, he was caught, and he was very much prominent in the local papers. He was a paedophile, and he'd been operating for years. Yeah, and it made me think that this baby could not have cognitively processed that. So that was the first thing it struck me. Then, of course, you know, I was out in the streets, and I was approached by lots of older men with big cars and offers of meals. I accepted one and ended up being locked in a house. And a group of men in that house, there were women as well, there were 4 women and 8 men. And there was a phone call. And suddenly there was mayhem. They opened a safe and they all pulled out a gun with a holster and screeched away in a car. This is 4 of the guys, or maybe it was 5 of them. And I thought nothing more. I was locked in a room. I tried to get out the window, and there was no way. I knew what I was there for, and it wasn't pleasantries. Anyway, about 7 in the morning, thankfully, I was awoken and told I'd be taken to a station and I could get a train into town. I think it was Ilford Station in London.
Uh-huh.
And then I had a gun pulled at my head and said, if you ever talk about this, you'll be dead.
Wow.
So I went back into town, and around 1 o'clock, I saw the front page of the evening paper. I can't remember what it was called, because there were 2 evening papers in London at the time. And there'd been a hit in Ladbroke Grove. A hit. Now, I don't know whether they were the perpetrators of the hit or were they the detectives answering the call.
Wow.
I've got no idea. But,
Gosh.
sorry, I'm just going to... so after that, I became very aware of people's body language and their eye movements and everything. And I knew who not to trust. It became almost innate at that point. I didn't need any signs. I didn't particularly read any signs. I just knew this person's not to be trusted. This person is. And I never had any problems after that. So I'm well on board with this idea that it's not a cognitive thing, because cognitively we will respond to rewards and incentives and praise. But innately, we know that we're not going to get any rewards, praise, or anything else. So that's what it made me think of. And I don't know why I'm not moving.
No, well, you're very handsome, just as you are, so don't worry about it. But I hope you're okay.
Yes, I'm fine.
Because I know you've not been very well, so I suddenly thought,
I know.
He's having a turn, I thought.
No,
you're fine. Your voice is great and strong. Wow. So we've got some really good approaches to this here. And your story about the baby, yes. One of the greatest things I've ever experienced is animals detecting trust.
Yes.
And it's happened to me a number of times with very shady characters. I've always had a dog or cats or something until I came to Japan, and then I haven't.
Yeah.
And so even my cats, if someone came to the house, they'd really, back off and stare at them, and and it always turned out that they were very shady characters and after me money or me body or something, And so I think that animals are amazingly sensitive to this, and yes, of course, children. And you telling that really provoked a memory of mine when I was probably, I don't know, I've got a very long memory, but probably not more than 2. And I was doing the same thing and being passed around. And there was this one woman who was wearing glasses who I just couldn't go close to at all. I remember that feeling right now. I can feel my heart racing. And yeah, she killed herself the next day. It was amazing. So my parents were very upset about this because they could see how upset I was by this person, and her energy was really awful, So I detected that straight away. So it reminded me, wonderful, great story. The stories really work, I think. He's gone.
He's disappeared.
He's going to have a moving tour.
He must have, maybe he's got internet problem.
Yeah. Well,
following on from Mike's.
You're okay. I think it may be Mike. I don't know.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's Mike.
He'll be back.
I mean that Are you there, Linden?
Yes, I'm here.
I mean, that story he told about himself, because it's like, if we listen to our bodies, you know, you as a baby, it's not necessarily that she was a bad person, but there was something obviously coming up with her. That's why, oh no, you're moving now, Mike.
Yeah.
I went out and came back in to see if that would work.
The magic switch it off, switch it on again.
I was saying the story you told, and now I guess you're more aware. So our bodies do tell us when there's something there. But as a child, you probably weren't aware because you were very trusting, but your body wasn't trusting, and your body was actually giving you the message. But now you're more aware. And I think listening, and in my old age, I'm just like really recognizing the way the body reacts. And I was speaking to Linden yesterday about a reaction that I was having, in that my mind was willing to come to the event, but my body was like throwing its toys out of its pram. You know, it was like, you know, thinking, oh no, you know, I'm feeling very uncomfortable. But I didn't realize that it's a trust thing, because I felt the lack of trust, and that was one of the symptoms. And so I'm really glad for this conversation that we're having today, because that's a real learning for me, and I hope for the audience too.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think, as Heather said, this is a bit of a revelation to most people. Although we've got our stories, and if we look, probably feel those times when people. But actually, it's. I don't know who that is. Anyway, King is here. King, welcome. Thank you for commenting. King is always here. He's my biggest fan. So here he is. Great session. Thanks, King. Anyway.
Then one of the things I was going to ask, and obviously the story of the babies, you know, and certain animals and so on, and is that thing of because the first thing I wrote down when I was watching the film was just our gut feel, our gut instinct, and I'm curious as to what is this. Are we talking about the same thing here, or is it a bit different?
Instinct. It's a great question. Well, I've gone into this in great detail. I should say that I did 5 years of medical training, and then decided not to take the final year because I wasn't convinced about mainstream medicine. So I've always been kind of anatomically and physiologically informed, if you like. I'm fascinated by the human body. So what is the difference between trust and a gut instinct? Well, your gut instinct can, of course, be greatly affected by the level of trust you've got. And I'm not just talking about trust as a state. I'm talking about also trusting yourself. Because I think many people do not trust themselves. And then they lose it. You know, if there's no trust there, then they're not being authentic, they're not present, and probably things will collapse badly for them, you know, because they're not actually there in what they're doing, because they've never learnt to trust themselves. Now, I know Mike has, because he's lived on the streets, he's done all sorts of amazing things, and I know Abby Sheila has too. And I think, Heather, you have learned to trust yourself. But if we have a good level of a really sincere self-trust, I mean no little holes or chasms in that, where you really do know yourself and you really trust yourself. I've spent a lifetime getting to know myself through spiritual training and so on. So I trust myself 100%. But if you don't have that, or you're not sure you have enough, or the full complement of self-trust, then your gut instinct can often be wrong, because that's connected to a different system. So what we're talking about with trust here is really the nervous system and the solar plexus, which is just at the bottom of your rib cage, and it's the kind of your inner sun, if you like. And the inner sun is responsible for intuition, for hunches and so on. And so yogics and all sorts of, high level meditators and so on really lean on that. But I'm talking more fundamentally, really, about getting out of the head. So I have conversations with people and I say to them, well, you must trust him. And this other person may say, well, I'm learning to, or, well, I think I have to earn my trust, or something really cryptic, which really always shocks me, because, trust is not anything to do with the way we think. We can think about it and make lovely sentences and so on, but it has nothing to do with what it actually is. It's an inner state. And the best state I can compare it with, as I did in the video, I think, is gratitude. So again, this is something that people have lost very often. It's been replaced by rage, by indignation, that things aren't the way they should be for a developed person in a developed world, all this kind of thing. But basically, gratitude, that incredible moment, and this is how I work with people, when I reveal to them that without their breath, there's no life. And this wakes people up. And then, of course, we get into the stage of, this extraordinary relationship with the earth that we have, and the extraordinary level of evolution of our bodies that can process the oxygen. And Earth is the only planet that provides breathable gas. So people are really shocked at this, even though they know it here. But to have it kind of enunciated in full session when they're defenses are down and so on, they're really amazed. And what usually happens when I ask them to be grateful for their breath is they cry. Man, woman, child, they cry because they have never, ever, perhaps since they were very small, really experienced gratitude, because it's a bodily thing. And I can feel me now thinking, I can feel some kind of activity, some tearful activity, because I am incredibly grateful every day to be on this planet, and to have this incredible resource of breath. It's the most valuable asset I could ever have, So if we imagine that, and I'm sure all three of you are now thinking, oh yes, I'm grateful for something and I can feel it welling up. Come on, Mike.
Yes,
No,
I can. As someone
to.
who had really bad asthma as a youngster, I genuinely am grateful for breath, because I've been short of it, almost at the point of dying. So to breathe is something I'm grateful for every day.
Oh, yeah, me
Really
too.
after my adventures this year. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad you're better. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, you've been very good. No, so glad. Anyway, so yes, can you imagine that trust is very similar to that deep gut feel? Well, it's close to the gut. Actually, it's my solar plexus rather than lower that I feel it. Trust is the same. I don't know about you, but when I really trust somebody, I get this real strong feeling in my solar plexus. That I'm so excited that I relax and trust this person totally. And usually it's really a good decision. So, yeah, I think if people could appreciate how physiological it is, they'd transform in the same way we do if we are grateful. If we're grateful for everything we've got, even if we've not got much, we think, by other people's standards, then that contentment means that everything else is a bonus. And, that's a fabulous feeling to know you're getting all these bonuses on top of what you've already got, you know. So trust is very like that. It's a question of, first of all, trusting your body, trusting your spirit, which is the engine that drives your body and drives your unlimited mind. I talk about the two minds, the limited, which is a brilliant mind, but there is the unlimited mind, which is much more about your heart and, you know, is boundless. And we all have access to this, but many choose not to go there. So, yeah, if you compare trust and gratitude, I would say those are the closest in terms of feeling. So
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yes, you can. Go ahead.
I was told years ago that I had a woman's intuition in a man's body. So I'm going to ask this question because I don't hear many men talking this language. And it makes me think that women are more intuitive, or women have allowed their intuition to develop better than men. Because I think the gut feeling thing is really important. Now, I met a certain politician years ago, and it was a business related thing. And I said, I wouldn't trust him an inch, not 1 inch. And they all said, but he's really clever. He's doing great work for the Labour Party. It was Peter Mandelson.
Oh.
And this is very early on in his Labour Party career. Gordon Brown didn't trust him either. And I was at school with Gordon Brown. Well, for the very short time I was at school, Gordon Brown was at the same school. So I know I've got this, right? But no one else saw it. No, everyone else made all the decisions based on his qualifications, his ability to communicate, his slimy ability to smooth all paths before him. I found him a snail. And, you know, years later, it's come to pass. I think it probably did before, but in some incredible way, he was brought back in to fulfill a really important function. But I do wonder if women are better than that, better at that, because I got the same sense from some of the women in the room as well.
I think I agree with you.
Very interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe it's because of the nature and the survival thing. So it's a different role. So we need that because of the it's kind of difficult to explain, but I think if you look at nature and how life was like 1,000 years ago,
absolutely,
we needed that because we're more vulnerable because of the way our bodies are, and we're not as strong. So I don't know, maybe that's just the way it's supposed to be. So we complement each other, and we collaborate. So you have things like, as a man, so you probably don't need that, but obviously if you've got a good female, and obviously we're all on the spectrum of that.
Of course,
some men are really intuitive, but generally on the bell curve, it's like seems to be mainly women. And I think in the old days, women used to be hunted to be called witches because of this intuition that they have.
Yes.
You know, they would see that, oh, that's kind of not normal. She must be a witch.
And I think women are also probably just maybe better and more used to speaking out, and actually being able to say, you know, and I don't know, is it not seen as a manly thing to do, to kind of have a witchy feeling about something,
Feelings.
or kind of feelings, expressing them, crikey, you know, and I think that I think there's a cultural thing around it as well, Mike. And I think we probably all have, excuse me, that same ability. Maybe it's just culturally been sort of drummed out of men more so than women. And maybe also, Sheila, what you were saying about, you know, maybe there's that sort of protective maternal thing. I mean, I'm not a mum, but you still have that slight protection and therefof you're a little bit more wary because back in cave days, the man of the house was, or the man of the cave was out there kind of protecting in the way that he did that, and the woman had that sort of more nurture role. As I say, the world has moved on from that, but I think maybe there's still that you have a sense in a different way, and you're protecting in a different way because the caveman had his spear, and kind of, and he didn't need, just kind of went for it, saw the danger, did it. Whereas, I don't know. It's a
it's a
conversation.
Heather, I think personally, I believe women are mothers. Whether childbearing is a different thing.
But
I think we've been indoctrinated with child, because you will find out that with women, if they don't have children, they usually have cats, or they have loads of plants, or they have they have something. So that instinct of wanting to care, and maybe that's because naturally that instinct is there. And I'm not saying men don't have it, but generally that instinct is there, and maybe that's why.
Evolutionary.
So we just have to have it, and so I guess the world has maybe made us that we're more like that. And like you said, men don't actually express themselves because maybe it's not a done macho thing to express what's in here. I don't know. You're a man. You can tell us. I'm sure you feel it, but you probably don't really express it that much, or your friends.
Yeah, I remember the story of a couple with their child. The child was 13, and the child was quite away from them, and they saw someone attack the child. And the mother's instinct was to go and hold the child, and the father's instinct was to take chase of the perpetrator. And I thought that was it would not happen the other way around. Can you imagine it? The mother chasing after and the father holding the child. So I do think there are these instinctive responses that were nurtured to have. I remember my sister had a totally different relationship to my parents than I did, and I admired my mother more than my father, because she seemed to have these qualities that were much more attuned to me as a child. I got on really well with my father when I was older, much older. I didn't see him for 12 years. But it's strange. But there are differences, and I think it's probably why I got on so well with women, that I can have these conversations that just go a bit deeper than the story and the heroics. But men can have very intelligent conversations, but they don't touch the spiritual, the kind of the inner part of us that we don't understand it.
No, I know that, and I'm really so aware of that. And it really shocks me when I talk to men about this, because my father, you're talking about your mother, but my father was my mother. He brought me up. My mother went out to work. She loved me. So he brought me up. His incredible mother could do everything and anything, and very spiritual man, very spiritual man. I grew up thinking that all men were like that, and I got myself into terrible trouble because they were not. They were very much not, and I could see that, the old adage that the daughter always wants to find a partner who's just like her father. Well, I started out with that, but then I gave up, because every time I tried to get into a relationship with a man, all this incredible, can I say it, crap would come out from the head, from here. And it was just so difficult to get them into the emotions, into their inner states, into their bodies, actually. But my dad was amazing. He was so grounded, so spiritual, so emotional, and he would talk about it for hours, and he would cry all the time. He'd be so not self-piteously, but self-pitifully, perhaps, but because life was so amazing to him. So the kind of bliss bliss state, you know. So I feel really sorry that men are trapped more, it seems, in their limited minds than we women are. But my mission is to get them out of their limited minds. And really, this work is all about experience. I'm not a coach, I'm a mentor. And that means that I provide experiences that people can have, where they can actually get into their heart energy, get into their spirit, get into their bodies, and then they never want to leave. You know, that's how I work. So yeah, I think trust is, once you know it's a bodily state, a lot of mystique disappears, a lot of burdens disappear, because you don't have to earn it, you don't have to work for it, you don't, you know, it's instantly there if we can just be connected to our bodies. So Heather, tell us a bit about Master before we go any further, because you know, I'm working with Master and it's fascinating framework, but I'm wondering how this would fit in with Master.
Yeah. I think because it comes in so many ways, but just a very brief introduction. Master Goals is a framework for goal achievement that remembers that we're actually human beings. So we need to ditch those things from the 80s that no longer, they probably never did serve anybody unless they were so focused they'd get there anyway. But it's to remember that we are human beings. We need to bring our strengths and our talents. We need to bring our individuality, our different ways of working. But we then also need to have a way that once we kind of know where we're going, it's great to have an objective. I have no objection to that at all. But it's like, it's really understanding that as if it's an individual thing, what we bring to it, and if we're in a team, and I think this is where this conversation actually applies to both, because it's also then how we adapt, because the world is complex. How do we adapt as we move through? And this is the genius of Master, one of the geniuses. And I'll say this, it came out of my head, so that's a wonderful thing. But
well, I'm
for me,
behind you.
Absolutely. And for me, that thing of, if we trust in a different way, I think that we then work, you know, this is all feeling like we then work in a slightly different way. And if we understand that, and the more we understand, whether you do it a strengths assessment or whatever assessment to understand your innate talents, but also if you can, as you say, embody that yourself, and the more you know that, you can then trust that you will do what you need to do, you can adapt as you need to do, etc. And I think that's important sort of on a personal level. But some of the post that you put up yesterday was about this whole thing around, in, you know, when we're in meetings. And for me, this is absolutely crucial, is that so often, and I've been in corporate, I was an accountant for 20 years. I know most people don't believe that, but I did. But excuse me, the whole thing is that it becomes a sort of a culture of how we bring people into conversations. It's a culture of how we listen to each other and understand each other's different ways of working, the reality of where they are right now. So that if that's the objective, the corporate, the team, the whatever we're working towards, if we can have an understanding and talk to each other differently, and if the four of us were heading somewhere, and if you're just handed, you know, from on high, this is where you have to be by then, kind of crack on with it. But actually, if we can, Mike's going, if we can actually bring to that conversation, either in setting that objective, or even if it's handed down, if we can each bring the best of ourselves to attaining that outcome, surely that is by far a better way to work. And I know there's a lot of ways that people can do that these days, and there's much more understanding of difference, and whether it's neurospicy or just the reality of your life, what's going on right now. But somehow, if you have a framework like Master, where you can actually have those conversations without fear of judgment, because there's a place to ask this question and to create that safety, that safe place for people to be able to say who they are, say what they do. And this is, I think, where this conversation around trust is so important, is that trusting yourself, but also I know I can trust the other people in this conversation. And it's not going, oh, they're going to go and tell Fred down the pub because I've just said such and such. It's not about, it's a very different level of trust. And I think to be able to bring the two together in an organizational setting is hugely powerful, because it just takes one better decision, one feeling heard as an accountant, as a sort of an ADHD gobby person with an opinion, an ability to solve problems and ideate. There was no place for that, because I'm the accountant, tick that box, and that's what you do. Stay in your little box and you go over there. And I kind of worked in creative places because that felt like a way for me to experience that. But I could never be totally me.
Right.
And I think we all lost out, because and I'm one little person, and I'm not picking myself up saying I would have had a better idea or been more creative or whatever. That's come on. But if one or two things could have happened differently, because every person in that organization could speak authentically, bit of a used word, but you know what I mean, is that they could actually speak their truth in that moment. And then when you get to the end of the week or the time, things have been achieved, but in this really much more supportive way, that much more heard way, that much more, and you talk about the say less, care less, risk less, and actually can turn that on its head. It's like, oh yeah, this enables me to care more, to say more, and to risk more. These are all
that's
amazing things.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
that's a quick snapshot of Master Goals, and it's
brilliant.
it's so exciting as to where we're putting it, because it's adaptability. It can be in so many situations. Yes, it does. But I'm not going to go into that because it depends on context. But the main thing is a little rhythm of set, achieve, repeat. And it's about how you set it, what you need to do to get there, and how do we embed things to make this something that is sustainable, and sustainable in terms of the people, in terms of the planet, in terms of process. So it becomes this wonderful cycle that we can kind of move through and apply. So yes,
brilliant. Yeah, that's a great potted version, and I can test. I join every week.
Can I say something to Heather?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Because from the other side, I run creative sessions, right, with companies. And the number of times someone has said to me, look, I'm an accountant. I'm not very good at this creative stuff. And I say, yes, you are. I'm not saying you're a creative accountant. That's a very different thing. Yeah. But it's amazing how people sort of fit into these stereotypes. They don't create the stereotype themselves, but they fit in. So you will hear this all the time. I've had cleaners, because I say I want the cleaners in as well, because they're part of this organization. And they say things like, well, does anyone know my name? And people go, no. Why'd you walk past me in the corridor? Yeah. So, when you're bringing people together, people do fit into these slots that they're allotted. A lot of it's to do with job description, and I hate job descriptions. I hate them. And we do that to people. We categorize them so they're known as nouns rather than verbs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I always describe myself in verbs and adjectives.
Yes. Verbing is a great thing to do. Yeah. I like to verb.
Oh, yes. Sounds like indigestion to me. But anyway,
that's putting yourself in the limited mind, like you always say, Heather. It's not Heather, Linden. So the limited mind. So I am an accountant. I have no. I'm not creative. That's the limited mind. Because that's not really. That's just an identity. That's not really
exactly
you.
exactly. And I kind of knew I was, but it was so not allowed that I wasn't conscious. I didn't sort of put it consciously. I kind of played it through work. So I worked for an architect. I worked in creative and interesting places, and kind of felt that would be enough. But as I say, it was a lot of this was totally subconscious. I didn't know, but all of this experience now leads me to the work that I do now, because I've absolutely got the understanding of being I was the accountant.
I think this is great. And also, just to mention it briefly, because of Master too, the ENSA meeting that I briefly described in the video is really, as you probably can see, it's a Japanese tradition, because I live in Japan. I think you know that, I think. And here, you know, we have the opposite problem that the West has, because most people won't say a dicky bird. They won't speak at all, you know, unless you put a firecracker under them or take your clothes off or something. They won't say a word. So as a teacher here, I've always had a big problem getting people to actually talk. And so we've always used ENSA, which is very controlled, equal voice. We might call it a round table, if you like. It's a round table discussion, but it's facilitated in a completely different way, so that everybody speaks, and everybody has an allotted time, and there are only certain directions in which people can question, but it's really controlled. But in my use of this, I've always run a survey at the end of it. Did you feel people heard what you wanted to say? Did you say what you wanted to say? Seen? I asked those questions in surveys, and always the kids would say, yes, it was great. I want to do it again. They loved it because they had to prepare a sort of 6-minute talk, and they had the floor. And some of them were so painfully timid, and they'd even have panic attacks and faint the prospect of talking out loud to their peers. You know, really incredibly moving to see that happen, the stress level, amazing. But yeah, I think that ENSA in companies will really transform the way meetings go. I think everybody hates meetings, from what I can see. You know, it's the real sore point of people's working life, because nothing gets done, nothing is decided, there's no bedlam, it's disorganized. And we think we're being, you know, really kind, letting people talk. But we just had an experience with Embodiment Q&A, our Friday session, with a colleague who joined us. And she joined us for quite a long time, very high-level professor. And she really could not play the game at all. She was constantly distracting us from the topic, really in her head, and you know, nothing would stop her. So those kind of dominating voices in meetings with ENSA, no question, it's not allowed. And so I think, although it's much quieter than a normal meeting, people leave, they stand up and they go, and they smile and they relax. So yeah, ENSA takes people into a really embodied state. And I usually run it with breathing and, you know, grounding, feet on the floor and vertical spine. And I give these prompts during the meeting. So it's completely embodied, and people are so satisfied when they leave. So
I also think with ENSA in a meeting, even if you haven't solved anything, but it gives you, because it's so calm, you get to reflect, and then you can come back with suggestions if you don't know it then. But if it's all chaotic, your body's just so angry, you're feeling that that turmoil and that chaos inside, and so you're not focusing on the main agenda, which is why you had the meeting. Whereas with ENSA, even though you might not have an immediate positive response, but because you're feeling really calm and you felt heard, you could go back and say, okay, yeah, I didn't think about it at that time, but this is what I think, maybe if we did it this way. So I think generally it's a more positive. I liked it and it made me feel good.
Well, ENSA really is all about trust, because we trust ourselves to speak for a certain amount of time. We respect that, and then we trust others to do the same. And it's a kind of really lovely, natural exchange rather than some kind of screaming match, which has been happening in embodiment Q&A. Well, it's over now because we've got ENSA, but yeah, if you give people their head, wow, they can go crazy, if you let them. So
it's kind of like the meeting equivalent of the talking stick.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's good. Well, I can see we're a bit over time here, and it's fascinating. I'd love to get together with you again sometime if we can, and go on and discuss this in more detail, because it's so lovely to have your different perspectives. But yeah, let's just go around and just leave one last thought about trust and what you're taking away today from this meeting. Mike, do you want to?
I think what I respond to is consistency. That's at a cognitive level, but I think I do have an innate sense of who I trust and who I don't. And that's always worried me, because you make decisions based on nothing at all, but a feeling. But then you realize that your feelings and your responses are pretty sharp. And that's when you realize that actually your intuition, your instincts are far more powerful than your mind, because your mind goes through different machinations and contradictions and you agonize about something. So I'm happy. I'm happy to be the person I am.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great way of pushing it. Super. Thanks, Mike. Heather, what about you? What's your parting shot?
Yeah, I think this has just been such a lovely kind of, who expected us to go in all these lovely different directions kind of conversation. And I think, absolutely what Mike says. I think there's always that thing of, because obviously sometimes in life we've trusted people and then it's kind of gone a bit pear-shaped. And I think it's about learning and understanding for ourselves that this innate our own trust to embody that rather than doing it, but then also to kind of see that in other people, how, and it's something for me I want to learn more about and explore more, because I'm kind of like going, so how will that be different with those people who turn out to be not quite as nice as you thought they were? What is that process? And as I say, so for me, lots more to explore.
Good. Well, let's do it again sometime soon. Let's see. Abby Sheila, you're the only one.
For me to lots more to explore. We didn't get into the facial expressions because that's something that I would have loved to learn. But like there are others said, just I think like taking a back step and listening to what's happening in the body, because you're feeling that you'll be feeling. If you instinctively would know, so you feel the tension, and if it's kind of like not a nice feeling, then maybe we need to be more cautious. So for me, it's about learning that about trust, which is part of what I teach too. So part of the self-worth is about self-trust, which is a big part of self-worth. Because if you have self-worth, then the self-trust goes with it, and that self-trust of self. I tend to not be so much bothered about others, because I have a strong belief that if I'm well grounded, then the right people will come to my circle and the wrong people will kind of dissipate.
Yes. So
yeah, they'll naturally just go away.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
and
actually,
everything
that sorry, I was just going to say, actually, that was the other part of the equation. Inner trust equals outer wealth, and we didn't get on to talk about that.
yeah.
Basically, that's what Ebishil is talking about, that we become
Next time.
magnetic.
I like that.
Next time, yeah.
Next
But
time. That's a
if
good
you,
one.
yeah, if you're really embodied and you're really experiencing these states of being all the time, and you're being rather than doing, then you become magnetic, and you attract the right opportunities, you attract wealth, physical wealth. You know, it really does work as a foundation, as an anchorage. I see it as an anchorage. Because the other thing about trust is, and gratitude, and this is something to get you thinking, trust and gratitude are all here and now.
Present.
They're not in the past, they're not in the future. They are absolutely here and now. And in my opinion, that's where people start to drift away from themselves, because they're always rushing off after the past and resenting or regretting or flying off after the future. And they're so rarely here and now. And so a lot of my work is about bringing people to that place. Once they experience it, they don't want anything else, you know, so it really,
Good point.
you know, anchors them. Yeah. So there's a lot to talk about, and I'm so thrilled that you made the time to come. Thank you so much. And I hope I can invite you again, because this is a really good kind of quadrant of people, a quartet, because we're very balanced. We're all four of us really balanced, I think, which is fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you so much. I'll be sending you a link for this recording so you can spread it along your network.
Great.
So put some clips out of the highlights so we can really see what were the best points that we made. Thank you for your stories. Thank you for your analogies and all of it. It was great. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will retire you from the stage if you just give me a second so you can rush off and relax. See you soon. Thanks so much for coming. It's been a great
Thanks,
conversation.
everyone.
Lovely to meet you all. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Mike. Great. Well, that was such a good session. Such lovely people. And yes, really balanced people. And in a way, I chose them for that reason, because I wanted to show a really balanced view of trust. So I'm glad they were here. I'm glad you were here. Thank you for your comments. And of course, if you'd like to know more about this, you can pick up an ENSA PDF, which I've prepared, or you can get a link for it. We'll put it in the comments section. If you'd like to come and co-host, like my three lovely friends did today, there are still some slots open in this cycle. We're now in cycle 5. We've done 5 cycles of 13 weeks. And next week, a couple of slots open. We've got spiritual technology without overwhelm. That's next week. And the week after that is somatic case studies. So if any of you are body workers, healers and so on, I'd love to attract you to come and talk with me about those topics. We'll put out an advert about it during the week. And yes, if you've got any comments or any questions, then please address them to me. And I'll just recap some of the comments here. Yeah, Diet Chi said, trust for me. I feel a swollen heart of love when I trust. Oh, there it is. When I mistrust, sometimes it can be in my chest, tightening in my belly, quickening shallow breath. Oh, thank you. That's really nice description of trust. And I agree, it is a lovely feeling when it happens. So thanks, Deirdre, that's great. And thanks, King, for enjoying the session always. Thank you so much. Super. Okay, so it's time to stop. This is Your Body is Your Business Plan. I'm Linden Thorp, and I'm an embodiment mentor. Today we were talking about trust as an inner trust, a state rather than a way of thinking. And this can lead to outer wealth. And as my video showed, wealth is not just money and precious stones and all of that. It's things like time, having plenty of time, having plenty of good relationships. This is wealth, you know. So if you'd like to know more about any of it, please contact me. And yeah, we'll be back again next week with event 6 of Your Body is Your Business Plan, the Masterclass. Please apply to come and co-host if you're interested. We'll put the link below this window. So thank you so much. See you next Wednesday. Now there is an announcement, because next Wednesday we're going to change the time. We're going to be 9 a.m. in the morning, GMT. And this is going to be 7 p.m. EST. So we've had lots of complaints that the East Coast and the West Coast of the States and Australia and so on can never join these sessions because they're aimed at GMT. So we're going to experiment and have the rest of the cycle starting at 9 a.m. on Wednesday, GMT. So instead of noon, we're going to start earlier. So hopefully you'll be able to join us. Thank you so much. We'll put a note out about this week, and see you soon. Thank you very much. Bye for now.